The sun was already high, burning away the last traces of morning mist as it climbed over the rolling hills. The ranch bustled with the sounds of a day in full swing, horses stamping in the corral, chickens scratching in the dust, and the distant shouts of hands mending a fence line. For rancher Harlan Barrett, it was the kind of day he lived for, clear, bright, and honest, with nothing to hide in the shadows. Harlan moved through his chores with practiced ease, his boots kicking up little clouds of dust as he crossed the yard. He paused to check the water trough, then headed toward the barn, where the scent of hay and leather mingled in the warm air. He was halfway there when he heard it, a soft, urgent voice, almost lost beneath the clatter of the ranch. "Harlan, over here." He turned, squinting against the sunlight. Near the side of the barn, half hidden by a stack of feed sacks, stood a young woman. Her name was Lila, one of the new kitchen helpers, barely out of her teens. She looked out of place in the harsh daylight, her dress smudged with flour, her hair pulled back in a loose braid, but it was her eyes that caught Harlan's attention, wide, anxious, and darting from side to side as if she expected someone to appear at any moment. He walked over, concern knitting his brow. "You all right, Lila?" She nodded quickly, but her hands twisted in her apron. I needed to talk to you." "Alone?" Harlan glanced around. The ranch hands were busy, no one paying them any mind. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "What's going on?" Lila hesitated, glancing over her shoulder. The sunlight caught the fine tremble in her hands. "Please, don't tell the others," she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath. Harlan's heart thudded. He'd seen fear before, real fear, the kind that made a person shrink into themselves. He knelt down so he was eye level with her, his tone gentle. "You're safe, Lila. Whatever it is, you can tell me." She swallowed hard, her gaze fixed on the ground. "I found something. Out by the old well. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I heard a noise. And when I looked..." Her voice trailed off, and she shivered despite the heat. Harlan's concern deepened. "What did you find?" Lila looked up, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "A box, buried in the dirt. I dug it up, just a little, and there was blood on it. Fresh blood. I covered it back up, but I can't stop thinking about it. What if someone saw me? What if they know?" Harlan felt a chill run through him, the kind that had nothing to do with the weather. He glanced toward the distant line of cottonwoods where the old well sat, half forgotten at the edge of the property. He'd always thought of it as just another relic of the past, a place for snakes and memories. But now, in the bright light of day, it seemed to pulse with a new kind of menace. "Did you see anyone else out there?" he asked quietly. Lila shook her head. "No, but I heard voices. Men, I think. I ran before they saw me." Harlan nodded, his mind racing. He put a steady hand on her shoulder. "You did the right thing coming to me. I'll take care of it. But you need to stay close to the house, all right? Don't go anywhere alone." She nodded, relief and fear mingling in her expression. "Thank you, Harlan. I don't want any trouble." He managed a reassuring smile, though his thoughts were already far away. "You let me worry about that." As Lila hurried back toward the kitchen, Harlan straightened and looked out across the sunlit fields. The day felt different now, the brightness edged with something dark and uncertain. He wiped the sweat from his brow, glancing once more toward the old well. Whatever was buried out there, it wasn't just a box, and whoever had left it hadn't meant for it to be found. Harlan set his jaw, determination settling over him like a second skin. He'd seen enough secrets in his life to know that daylight didn't always keep the darkness at bay. Sometimes, it just made the shadows harder to see. He headed for the barn, mind already working through what he'd need. A shovel, a lantern, maybe his old revolver, just in case. The ranch was alive with the sounds of work and laughter, but Harlan felt the weight of Lila's secret pressing down on him, heavy as the noon sun. He knew one thing for certain. Before this day was done, he'd have to face whatever waited at the old well, and he'd have to do it alone. Harlan waited until the ranch had settled into its afternoon rhythm before making his way toward the old well. He moved with purpose, but not haste, careful not to draw attention. The hands were busy in the north pasture, and the kitchen was a flurry of clattering pots and laughter. No one noticed as he slipped a shovel and his lantern into a burlap sack, tucking his revolver into his belt beneath his shirt. The sun was still high, but the shadows were beginning to stretch, and the air shimmered with heat. He crossed the open field, boots crunching in the dry grass, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of movement. The old well sat at the edge of a stand of cottonwoods, half swallowed by weeds and time. It had been years since anyone had drawn water from it. Now it was just a landmark, a place for children's dares and whispered stories. But today, it felt different. The air around it was heavy, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. Harlan paused at the edge of the clearing, listening. The only sound was the distant drone of cicadas and the soft rustle of leaves. He moved forward, every sense alert, and knelt beside the well. The ground was disturbed, the dirt loose and dark. He brushed it aside with his hands, heart pounding, until his fingers struck wood. He uncovered the box slowly, careful not to disturb anything more than he had to. It was small, crudely built, stained with something dark and sticky. Blood. Just as Lila had said. Harlan's stomach twisted. He glanced around, half expecting someone to step from the trees, but the clearing remained empty. He reached for the lantern, but the sunlight was still strong enough to see by. With a deep breath, he pried open the lid. Inside, wrapped in a piece of burlap, was a bundle of letters, a silver locket, and a blood-stained handkerchief. Harlan's hands shook as he lifted the locket, turning it over in his palm. It was engraved with a single initial, M. He set it aside and unfolded the letters. The handwriting was neat, careful, and unmistakably feminine. The words were full of longing and regret, promises made and broken, secrets whispered in the dark. Harlan read them quickly, his mind racing. The last letter was different, short, hurried, the ink smudged as if written in fear. They know. I can't hide anymore. If you find this, please forgive me. M. Harlan's breath caught. He looked at the handkerchief again, noticing for the first time the initials embroidered in one corner. M.R. He tried to recall anyone on the ranch or in town with those initials, but nothing came to mind. He tucked the letters and locket back into the box, his mind spinning with questions. He was about to cover the box again when a twig snapped behind him. Harlan spun, hand going to his revolver. A figure stepped from the trees. A man, tall and broad-shouldered, his face shadowed by the brim of his hat. Looking for something, Barrett? The man drawled, his voice low and dangerous. Harlan kept his hand near his gun, eyes never leaving the stranger. Just cleaning up some old messes. You lost? The man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Funny thing. Secrets. They have a way of coming back around. You might want to leave that box where you found it. Harlan straightened, refusing to be intimidated. And if I don't? The man's smile faded. Then you might find yourself in more trouble than you bargained for. For a long moment, neither moved. The sun beat down, sweat trickling down Harlan's back. He weighed his options, every instinct screaming that this was no ordinary warning. He glanced at the box, then back at the man. I don't take kindly to threats on my land, Harlan said quietly. The man shrugged, stepping back into the shadows. Suit yourself. Just remember, some things are better left buried. He disappeared into the trees, leaving Harlan alone with the box and 1,000 questions. Harlan waited, listening for any sign the man might return, but the woods remained silent. He closed the box, covering it with dirt, and stood, his mind racing. He knew he couldn't leave things as they were. Whatever secret the box held, it was tied to someone's pain, maybe even someone still in danger, and Lila, with her fear and her plea for silence, was caught in the middle. Harlan hefted the shovel and the box, glancing once more at the well before heading back toward the ranch. The sun was dipping lower, the day slipping away, but he felt the weight of the secret pressing heavier with every step. He had to find out who M.R. was and why someone would go to such lengths to keep her story hidden. Harlan returned to the ranch as the sun began to dip behind the hills, the sky streaked with gold and lavender. He kept the box hidden beneath his coat, his mind churning with questions and the memory of the stranger's warning. The ranch hands were finishing up for the day, their laughter echoing across the yard, but Harlan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the coming night. He slipped into the house through the back door, setting the box on the kitchen table. Lila was there, peeling potatoes, her face pale and drawn. She looked up, her eyes searching his. "Did you find it?" she whispered. Harlan nodded, lowering his voice. "I found the box, and I wasn't alone out there. A man showed up, tall, broad, didn't give his name. He knew about the box, and he wanted me to leave it. Well, thanks for watching." Lila's hands trembled, a potato slipping from her grasp. "He's been watching. I've seen him near the well before, but I was too scared to say anything." Harlan sat down, opening the box so she could see. "Do you know who M.R. is?" Lila hesitated, her eyes filling with tears. Martha Reynolds. She worked here years ago, before I came. Folks said she left for the city, but I heard stories that she was in trouble, that she was expecting." Harlan's heart sank. He picked up the locket, turning it over in his hand. "Did she have family? Anyone who might want to hurt her?" Lila shook her head. "No family, but there was a man. He worked here too for a while. Big, rough, always angry. I never knew his name, but I saw him with Martha once, out by the well. She was crying. After that, she disappeared." Harlan's mind raced. The man in the woods. Could he be the same one? He looked at the letters, the last desperate note. "They know. I can't hide anymore." He felt a cold anger settle in his chest. Someone had hurt Martha, and now they were trying to bury the truth. He closed the box, meeting Lila's gaze. "You did the right thing telling me. But you need to be careful. Stay close to the house, and if you see that man again, you come straight to me." Lila nodded, wiping her eyes. "I'm sorry, Harlan. I just didn't want anyone else to get hurt." Harlan reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "You're braver than you think, Lila. Secrets like this, they don't stay buried forever." That night, Harlan sat by the window, the box on the table beside him, his revolver within reach. He watched the yard, every shadow and movement, waiting for the stranger to return. But the night passed quietly, the only sound, the soft sigh of the wind and the distant call of an owl. In the morning, Harlan saddled his horse and rode into town. He went straight to the sheriff's office, the box tucked under his arm. Sheriff Grady listened in silence as Harlan laid out the story, the letters, the locket, the blood, the stranger's threat. When Harlan finished, the sheriff nodded, his face grave. "I remember Martha," Grady said quietly. "She was a good girl, deserved better than what she got. I'll look into it, Harlan. You did the right thing." Harlan left the box with the sheriff, a weight lifting from his shoulders. He rode back to the ranch, the morning sun warm on his back, and found Lila waiting on the porch. She looked anxious, but when she saw him, she managed a small, hopeful smile. "Is it over?" she asked. Harlan nodded. "It's over. The sheriff's handling it now. You don't have to be afraid anymore." Lila let out a shaky breath, relief flooding her face. "Thank you, Harlan, for believing me, for not telling the others." He smiled, the tension in his chest easing. "Some secrets are too heavy to carry alone. You did the right thing." The days that followed were brighter. Lila moved through her chores with a new confidence, her laughter returning, her eyes no longer shadowed by fear. The ranch settled back into its familiar rhythm, the memory of the secret fading like a bad dream. Harlan kept a watchful eye on the horizon, but the stranger never returned. The old well stood silent, its secrets finally brought to light, and as the summer deepened, the ranch thrived, the land blooming under the honest sun. One afternoon, as Harlan rode the fence line, he paused to look back at the house. Lila stood in the doorway, waving, her face open and unafraid. Harlan tipped his hat, a quiet satisfaction settling in his heart. He knew there would always be shadows in the world, secrets waiting to be uncovered. But for now, the ranch was safe, the truth was known, and the sun shone bright on all that mattered. It makes me happy knowing these stories reach so many corners of the world. Wherever you're listening from, I'm wishing you peace and rest tonight.